Hello and welcome to the first ever live French Football Weekly podcast. We had to talk Jeremy through getting online. That's why we're 7 minutes late because he's an old man. Hi Jeremy, hi Rich, how we doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm not sure why I'm nervous about this because we do podcasts. We never really have to edit anything when I do them. We just put the audio up. But it's like, my God, we're live. We need to make this good, or it'll be the same old crap you get every other week. There's no one viewing, so we'll just talk. But we're still going to do the podcast normal. We're still going to download it off iTunes, etc. So we'll start with the Lyon Marseille game from Sunday night. Another defeat for Lyon. Again, it was a game they probably could have won, although
Wasn't it a
like
draw?
it was a draw. Sorry, yes, it's a good start, isn't it? Another game without a win for Lyon. I'm going to edit that out in the podcast. Another game without a win for Lyon. A game they possibly could have won, but I do feel as if, like the derby, they didn't do enough to create the chances to score the goals to win the game. They did get obviously one goal from Cortan Tolisso. And I suppose before we go into the sort of merits of each team's performance, we have to talk about the referee decisions that pretty much decided the draw. Batshuayi should have had a goal, clearly onside. Ball went in, should have been given, and then Javi Manquillo was given a handball against him for the free kick that led to Talisso's goal. Now, Jeremy, first of all, thoughts on the referee decisions? I think for once we'll probably agree that both were wrong.
Yeah, both definitely wrong, and I think Marseille fans have got a reasonable shout for saying that Morel should have been sent off as well. It was a really nasty foul that he got booked for, but could easily have been a red.
And what about Leon's performance overall? Because we weren't critical enough after the derby, but again, it was a game without a lot of chances for them. Do they look comfortable when Bruno Genesio's 4-3-3? I'm not sure Lacazette does. Andy Brassel touched on it today in his ESPN article, and it's something I thought during the derby as well. They just don't look like they fit what he's trying to do.
I think in general, Lacazette this season has looked a bit of a lost soul without Fekir. Everyone knew Fekir's injury would be a big loss to Lyon. I don't think anyone realised it would be this serious to Lacazette on an individual basis. But yeah, all season, whether it's been 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, he hasn't looked anywhere near the same player he was last year. In terms of this match, and I guess the Saint-Etienne match as well, they had a lot of possession, but Marseille, I thought, especially first half, just generally looked more clinical when they did have the ball. To be fair to Lyon, Mandanda had one of those just blinding matches that, at one point it looked like nothing was going to go past him. So I think they looked a little bit more sharp than they did last week. But still, it's a problem. It's a lot of sterile possession.
Yeah, I was quite surprised at half time when I saw the possession stats because in my mind I was thinking Marseille actually had more of the ball. Rich, bring you in here. I was quite surprised at how much Leon had of the ball. It probably says how little they did with it.
It did. I think I actually said during the match there's just very little in the middle for Lyon. Defense is what it is. Attack, there's glimpses, but there's just a sort of a nothingness in their midfield. There's very few players who are seemingly able to sort of get the ball, grab the game by the scruff of the neck, really play sensible possession football.
Yeah, I'm really not sure on Sergi Darder either. I've just not seen enough of him to suggest that he was worth what they paid for him, at least anyway. I still see him, it just doesn't quite, I still seem convinced by him at all.
I actually thought he had one of his better games, but still not enough for 12 million worth.
For me, I'm unsure of what his role in the team is. Sort of both, primarily from a position point of view, it's the way that they play that sort of three in midfield. It's quite confusing, I think, at times as to exactly, obviously Gonalon will sit in front of the defence, but in terms of the other two midfield roles, it is quite, I think, confusing and not very clear as to what is actually being asked of those players. And I think that is obviously to the detriment of the likes of Grenier. We know he's got the talent. We know obviously he's still quite fragile. both physically and mentally. You know, it's going to take time to come back from such a long layoff. But those two, I think, just look, like we've said, they just look a bit lost. It's not quite clear, and I don't think they know exactly what their role is in the team, and that's going to have a severely adverse effect on the performance.
Jez, I'll put this to you. Do we think that Darder's playing maybe in place of someone like Jordan Ferry because he did pay for a lot for him in the summer? Because I think Ferry's done really well when he's played, and he's got that bit more fight about him, a bit more of a sort of drive about his play.
I was surprised Ferry didn't start yesterday. I think in both matches against Saint-Etienne, he's been really good, really combative, and you know, in a sense, in the last couple of years, like as PSG have sort of grown ahead, and there's been a little bit of bad blood between the presidents and some of the players. I think Marseille against Lyon has almost become one of the biggest derbies in the country now. So I think it would have been the kind of match that Ferry would have sort of relished. Tolisso as well. I mean, I don't know if it was just because of the mistake last week, which he obviously took quite badly. I think both of them, or either of them, would have been a lot more effective than Darder. But it seemed to me that Darder seemed to be actually doing a lot more of the sort of going forward than Grenier, which I thought was strange.
Yeah. Yeah, you think that's why he was there, is to sort of bridge that gap between the midfield and the attack. He didn't quite do it. What about Marseille, Rich? I was more impressed with them, definitely. I think the way Batshuayi held the ball up for Remy Cabell's little knockdown was really good. And Kudu, again, has sort of impressed more and more as the season goes on. I mean, we were quite critical last week with their home form, and their away form definitely has been better. I think more reasons for optimism from Marseille fans this week.
I think definitely. I think if you'd have said going into this game that they'd be going in without Lassana Diarra, most Marseille fans, most non-Marseille fans as well, will be fearing perhaps the worst, because obviously he's been such a standout player for them. So I think it's with sort of great respect. I think that Alexis Romeo came in and I think did such a good job. I think, you know, there's been transfer speculation with him that's obviously going to unsettle him. I think he actually came in and really, really impressed by him. So much as that, to be honest, didn't really miss Diarra, and I think that's going to give a big boost to Marseille. With obviously the news that Diarra is going to be out for around 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
So there's definitely signs.
I think they missed him getting his foot on the ball and maybe having a bit more possession. They may have created some more, but yeah, you didn't really sense that there was a big chunk of that midfield missing at all.
No, and I think the defence, you know, there's still lapses, but I think we're starting to see that Nkulu and Rolando, there's starting to be now a bit more solidity to it. There's a bit of understanding, I think, between the two of them. There's still lapses. I think I don't think that will ever go away with the defence that they have, but it's certainly that's one big area, I think, that certainly has been the problem this season, that I think they're starting to get right. And
they've always got Steve Mandanda behind them, who was superb again. I think just that whole sequence for the goal, the superb save, then they got the other side of the pitch and get the goal 1-0 up, just magnified how important he's been for them this season, and much to your disgust, Rich.
Well, no, I did give credit where credit was due. It was a very good performance, but we'll leave that there.
Now, something that probably we're quite guilty of doing in this podcast. Also, by the way, you can ask us questions if you type in the Q&A box. We will see them, and we'll try and get them answered, read out. All three of the viewers that we have at the moment. So someone asks us a question. Something we're quite guilty of is probably not following things up. We talk about things, we rip teams apart, we discuss things, and we never really follow up on what happens next. Now, the Saint-Etienne subject ruffled, say, a couple of feathers, someone's feathers. Hi, Jeff. But I wanted to talk about them again this weekend, because I said, yeah, winning the derby's great, but if you can't build on it, you can't sort of turn it around and show what you're capable of. The next game, especially against a team like Rennes, then yeah, nothing's changed. So I sat Sunday afternoon, watched the Rennes Saint-Etienne game, wasn't a classic. Let's get off the bat. It was a bit of a damp squib, but I think the pitch played a lot to do with that. It was an awfully bobbly. It was cutting up after like 10-15 minutes. Not the best pitch, and that doesn't help you play the best football either. But I liked from the start. I liked what Gaultier did with the formation: 3-4-3, 5-2-3, whatever you want to call it. They were trying to get width, and there was a big vacant gap in the middle of the pitch that unfortunately I don't think Fabien Louman or Vincent Pajot sort of had that forward-thinking ability to really open up. There was a few chances, there was a few times where you think if someone like Esseric was there, you know, we create something. The first half was a struggle, but I think tactically fairly interesting. But then it sort of all came to life in the second half for me when Babek scored. I thought Alexander Sodolin showed his quality holding the ball up, got the ball to Babek. Defender oversold himself. Babek scores his left foot. But then that's when you want Saint-Etienne to kick on, go for the second goal, get your first win, which would have been their first away win since the end of September. It was there for them. Ruffy made a really good save, but they didn't. They sat back, invited around onto them. Rich, I think you watched this as well, and the equaliser was just inevitable. And without Ruffy at the end, they really should have got beat. I mean, Rich, any positives you saw from Gaultier after the Derby win? It was difficult because the pitch was a factor, but I think to me I was more disappointed after they went 1-0 up that it didn't push on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we also then had midweek as well. They're sort of very laboured the France victory over Ajaccio as well, which was a real struggle. But if we focus on the game weekend just gone, tactically, yes, it was quite a fluid formation. I still don't think you need who are arguably 5 defenders in that team away to a team like Reims.
I saw it more as a bit more attacking. So I think Poloma and Théophile Catherine were playing as wing backs, and they're probably more on the defensive side, but they still had full license to bomb up, and I think they tried, and I think maybe on a better pitch you might have seen more of it, because even Signorino Rans, who me and Jess talked about this, how L'Équipe had them as playing 3 at the back with 2 higher up. It was the same formations pretty much, but only Hamari Traore was the one that was sort of bombing forward. And I think on a different day you might have saw more out of those wing backs. So yeah, I see what you're getting at, but I think it's a harsh stick to beat them with.
But beat them with it, I will. It was. I mean, it affected them as well. Perrin going off for the second half, and I've actually caught up with how long he's due to be out for. But that's obviously a big loss, captain and leader of that defence. In terms of positives, Gaultier won't like me saying it, but I'm slowly starting to see what Bayerbeck can offer the team. I saw glimpses in that game away to Reims. The opening 20-25 minutes in the Coupe de France game against Ajaccio, again, really positive. He's full of running. Looks like he could be, glimpses of starting to be a decent partnership with Sodolin. So it is disappointing then that you've got this player who's so willing to attack, willing to sort of score goals, which is something that they do seem to struggle with at times. And then Gaultier comes out and says, I'm not been impressed with his first 6 months. It's like, he's still a fairly young player. He still actually hasn't played a huge amount.
How much did they actually use him that first 6 months as well?
Exactly. It's there was we had the rumours, subsequently rubbished, of this sort of banished 6, as I labelled them, who were or weren't told, go and find a new club or you're playing in the reserves.
Is now, whether that's follow up to Corintantino's The Hateful Eight, is it?
So, there's potentially a bit of upset. Now, whether there was any truth in that or not, but it's interesting that, he's come out and actually said, publicly, I've not been impressed with Bayerbeck. There's rumours of the likes of Jeremy Clement, of Baal Sal, looking to move on.
I thought Sal was awesome on Sunday. Everything that runs through in that box, he was there clearing that. I don't
quite understand why he was supposedly one of these 6 players, because at times he's looked arguably better than Loic Perrin.
I think Sal's the one that I understand the least, especially if Perrin's got injury problems, and Sal also seems to be the vice captain. Yeah, that one's missing the
Clermont's not
point.
really played. It's like, well, yeah, he can go. Nolan Roux.
I think Clermont's a different class to Pajot personally. I don't know why he's not getting picked ahead of him for a start.
I think Babbitt was the ones like, well, you've got him on loan, where you send him back, it seems a bit play him, and he's got ability. He might not do it consistently, but no one in that team is. Jez, that's Etienne's first away point since the end of September, and Philippa being the ever optimist, she's like, well, they've got something for the game that's a positive, but it's just not good enough, is it? If they really want to push for a Champions League, that sort of away record is not going to get it done. And yeah, everyone's been inconsistent, and they're still there or thereabouts in sixth place. They're only 6 points off Monaco, but they're not going the right direction, are they?
I think it's their first away goal in the league since September as well. So maybe we should be more positive. It's not often that I agree with Jonathan Pearce. He was doing the commentary for the match, and just before the goal, before Reims equalised, he commented that Saint-Etienne were falling further and further back, and then he actually, literally just before the goal, Saint-Etienne were on the attack, and he said it kind of, that they had the possession, and then they got slower and slower and slower, and then just petered out, and that felt like the whole match and a lot of the season. And it's bizarre. I mean, you look at their records, and they've got 10 wins, which, along with a few other teams, is the most after PSG.
Yeah.
But at no point have they ever looked that impressive. And considering they've got that they're up there near the top, they're pushing for possibly Champions League places. They're playing a team who haven't won for almost 2 months, and they've got a lead, irrespective of the fact that they're away, irrespective of the fact that it was a bad pitch. They should not be losing that match.
No.
They should not be pegged back at all.
And only 5 teams have lost more games than Saint-Etienne this season. So yeah, winning's great. The losses, that's what's stacked against them. They've only had the 3 draws, which is a lot of easy points you can get there. And yeah, they got one on Sunday, but it's just not something to keep an eye on. I think you need to really see more from that team. I'm not sure.
I think one of the positive as well. I think was it was damn good to see Frank Taberny back.
Yes, and he was delighted with it when they scored the goal. It was as if just the relief of being in a team that aren't in a relegation battle, probably.
I mean, they could argue that compared to we talked about Lyon's sterile possession, they're kind of clinical in a way. If they haven't got the same amount of possession, and Sunday they had 1 shot on target and they scored from it, so you have to say they're effective.
100% conversion rate, yeah. Again, if you've got any questions for us, pop them in the questions box and we'll get them answered. Now, a couple other teams doing fairly well at the moment. Nice got their 2nd win in a row at the weekend. Goals from Ben Arfa and Cosiello, superbly timed, really great run, perfect volley, great cross from Germain too. Wanted to highlight the awful defending from Rafael Guerrero for Ben Arfa's goal. This fall off balance, nowhere to be seen. That was bad defending. Jez, that's 3 wins and 5, a 5-game unbeaten run. Nice, I suppose it is down to sort of Ben Arfa when he's turning it on. They seem to do well, and you can't rely on one player to get you into the top 3. But they're there now, and there's no reason to say them. They're looking more up than Saint-Etienne are at the moment.
It's so close that everyone's there. A couple of defeats and Nice will be slipping down. Marseille and Lyon spoken about having arguably such bad seasons, and they're only, I think, 6 points behind Nice, which kind of sounds surprising when we talk about. We've spoken so many times this season about how great Nice have been and how poor the other 2 teams have been. It's all very close, but Nice seems to be.
When everyone's been so inconsistent, clawing back that 6 points probably is even harder than it would be in other seasons.
Possibly, but you do feel that they've got the quality that that they could climb the table quickly if they got it together. But Nice seem, they're certainly not a one-man team, but it does seem that when Ben Arfa's in the mood, then Nice are in the mood. And you mentioned Germain, his cross. He also sort of went off for a few months. Went off form, so the fact that the 2 of them are getting it back together is a great sign for them, and there's definitely no reason why they can't be up there. They've got relatively a few players there who are very well settled. They've got a really nice balance of experience and youth, and a manager who's seen it all before. So there's no reason why they shouldn't stay up. But it does feel like a lot of it depends on Ben Arfa retaining his form.
I suppose on the opposite side of that spectrum, Rich, we've got Monaco with a rather convincing 4-0 win over Toulouse. That's them in second place. They're only 3 points ahead of Nice, but they're looking like they're stuck on favourites for second place now, aren't they? I mean, they're spreading the goals around. Bernardo Silva turned up again on Sunday with a goal. Green Carrillo got one. Traore set up Silva. Even Contral scoring headers. I think if they continue to do that, spread the goals around, the forward problems we spoke about last week don't really matter, do they?
Well, no, not at all. No, I think what we've seen in recent weeks, I think, is the slow sort of click into gear of Monaco. They've started to sort of grind out those sort of 1-goal wins that we saw so often towards the tail end, mid part of last season. And then as they got towards the end of last season, and that's what we're starting to see now, they started to sort of gel a bit more. They started to just go up a gear, and sort of whenever they needed to, they just had that ability and that control just to put their foot down, perhaps move into the next gear and just take the game away from the opposition. So unlike some of the other things that we've mentioned so far this evening, when they do go a goal up, they're unafraid to go for that second goal, third goal, fourth goal. And that's what we saw. I mean, Toulouse were absolutely diabolical in defence. There's no hiding from that. I mean, most teams probably would have put 4 past them, but it was just a very clinical performance. It was good to see Bernardo Silva back. That was probably his best game for quite a while. I have been very impressed this season with Moutinho. I think it would have been very easy for him to just sort of sit back and think, stuff the lot of it. Everyone's gone. I've not got my transfer. I'm going to sulk. But he's sort of.
He's used to thinking that.
Yes, but he's put in some really, really sort of hard yards. He's put in the work that not a lot of people see, and I think without really noticing it, he's starting to really, really control games. But sort of in that sort of hidden, if you see what I mean, that sort of hidden way. He's not a standout player. You think at the end of the game, my God, João Moutinho has an amazing game. He's the one that keeps
it going and sort of links it up. And
yeah, but you can't then look back at the game and think, actually, he wasn't that good, because when you look back at all the good moments Monaco had, he was in one way or another part of them.
Yeah, if you go back a few passes, you'll see he's involved somehow. He's never going to catch the highlight reel, but yeah, that's what I mean. And it's good to see him doing that, because it wasn't as good as the hype was when he first joined it. So maybe this is his last season in Monaco, who knows? But it's good to see him getting the best out of him now.
I think it's the usual thing with Monaco that firstly it takes a while for the squad to get to know each other, and then as I think we said last week, it's such a big squad, and there's so many players that seem to be of a relatively similar level that it's probably quite hard for Jardim to come up with an 11 that he's going to stick with. But it looks like he's getting there, and it worked well that Traore, you don't expect to be sort of jinking along the byline. He did well, and then when he went off injured, Carrillo looks to just gradually be settling a little. And I agree with Rich. I think it was great to see Bernardo Silva looking back to his best.
Definitely. Now, we didn't talk about them last week because they hadn't really done anything, so we thought it was only fair that we spoke about Paris Saint-Germain this week, because they were absolutely fantastic on Saturday. Angers put to the sword, 5-1, and just some of the goals. I think the Gregory Vandervelde goal, the third one, maybe up there for one of the goals of the season. And then Angel Di Maria, not to be outdone, scores 2 absolute worldies. Now, I'm not going to break down the way they played. I think it's a massive thing that there was no Cavani. Lucas Moura started with Di Maria, and they were more fluid and more together. And I think he better get used to that spot on the bench. Could be there for a bit longer. Angel Di Maria, who Man United fans are like, Ligue 1's crap, that's why he's playing better. But when you watch him, he has taken this team, I think, to another level. As great as Zlatan's playing, and it's great to see him back fit and scoring goals, 17th goal in the season, Jez. But Di Maria, he's on another planet at the moment. Some of the goals, he's build up play, the creative side of him. I'm putting an early shout out there, Jez, start with you. Angel Di Maria, League One Player of the Season.
I don't think there's many players that can rival him so far. I think as I said before about Zlatan, I feel like he's now sort of, as he's getting older and less mobile, he's pretty much an out and out, playing as an out and out centre forward now. He's not dropping as deep. He's certainly not creating as much.
Do you think he doesn't need to, because of Di Maria, he sees that's happening, so he's like, yeah, I'll just stick up here a bit more now.
Possibly. I mean, I think in the past, a younger Zlatan might have said, "Well, I'm not having that. I want to be the main man doing everything." So, I think it's good of him, mature of him to play to his strengths and see that there's someone else who's a lot more mobile and maybe a lot more creative nowadays, who's going to do that work for him. And compared to previous seasons, Zlatan hasn't scored that many spectacular goals, but he's been there to put the ball in the net. I think Di Maria has been fantastic, and I don't think there was ever any disputing that he was a good player. It was just
picked the wrong league, wrong systems, everything about that wasn't.
A lot of Man United fans I know would say he just picked the wrong coach.
I think they'd say that even more now, looking at the way their season's gone now.
Well, I'll say it just because it's still French themed, so it's not going too much off subject. But a few friends said the only reason Martial started so well at United was because he couldn't speak English yet, so he didn't understand. He was told he's not allowed to run with the ball.
Rich, anyone for you rivaling Di Maria for that player of the season candidate?
No, it's really hard not to. I think if we're honest, we those end of season awards will almost certainly be a fairly clean sweep by PSG. And to be honest, you look at the goals he scored, you look at the assists he's provided, you look at the general play that he's produced when he's played. It's fairly unrivaled, and by fairly I mean very. And I think what we've now got with those front three, if we exclude Cavani from that and focus on Di Maria, Lucas, and Ibrahimovic, is we've got Di Maria to provide the wonderful passing and sort of range of passing that he can provide, Lucas to do the running, Zlatan to do the finishing, and you've got a fairly potent, effective front three there that can take apart pretty much any defence, not only in Ligue 1, but it's something as well I think that Chelsea and potentially beyond in the Champions League really need to be concerned about.
And still Marco Verratti to come back to get back to full match fitness as well, which is quite scary. We'll move on to the other games.
Quick shout out for Capel for a goal in 3 games.
It was a great goal. He's not scoring tap-ins, is he?
No.
Really great volley from edge of the box. It's a shame it means nothing, but it'll mean a lot to him going to the part of the prawns. So, yeah.
Oh, and then also a quick shout out for weirdest transfer speculation of the week with Roman Saiz linked to Barcelona.
I didn't see that. I wish I had that.
Yeah, I saw that earlier in the week.
The new Sergio Busquets. Yes.
Swap deal. Go for the swap deal.
Busquets emoji, brilliant.
Imagine Busquets next to Sheikh and Doi.
He'd eat him alive. Now, Bastia, Jeremy, have got. They're not happy, the Koskins, this weekend, and I suppose maybe they've got some right not to be happy. They lost 1-0 to Guingamp, but it's more the circumstances surrounding it. First of all, Foyde Ite got sent off. He should have no complaints about that, kicking into the back of Thibaut Giresse. But it's at the end where Julien Palmieri is judged to have fouled Jimmy Briand, which to me, when I first saw it, I was like, what? How is he even given a penalty for that? He's just Briand's backing into him. There's some contact, but no more than you get any other week. And then because of that decision, because he gave the penalty, the captain Kawazak manhandles the referee. He gets sent off. You're down to 9 men. You lose the game 1-0, and you go home with nothing. But Jez, if if he doesn't give that penalty decision, then Kawasaki doesn't manhandle the referee, and they don't get a man sent off, and they leave with a point. So you can see why. So you can never defend, suppose, somebody putting their hands on the referee, but you can see why it would boil his blood just a little bit. Someone like Kawasaki is like Corsican born and bred. He's going to get mad at that. And another poor decision from a Ligue 1 referee.
I don't think the sending off was a poor decision. I understand why he did it, but it was still stupid. He's experienced enough. He shouldn't be doing it.
But without a bad decision, it doesn't happen.
No, but once it does, he should still show a bit of restraint. But for me, it definitely wasn't a penalty, and I don't know if it was almost bad luck that Bastia were Guingamp's opponents this week, because Guingamp have had some shocking decisions against them the last couple of weeks. Gourvenec made a very clever, not slagging any referees off too much, but just kind of observing that it just seems a little unfair that they're not getting a couple more decisions, that kind of thing. And it almost felt inevitable that any sort of mildly controversial decision or possible penalty shout or whatever could well go their way this week. Bastia for a few years have felt that the authorities are against them. Sometimes sometimes it feels like they do have reasonable shouts. Their fans are rowdy, but it does seem that they're often more harshly treated than others. There was the Coupe de la Ligue final early decision, which pretty much sealed the match. And so I can understand a little why they feel picked on. I'm not sure this decision came about because it was Bastia. I think there's a good chance whoever it would have been, yeah.
Now, Bastia is at a welcome Lyon on Saturday. Are they going to get a decision their way to balance it up again? Then we have all ass kicking off. You can see it's going round and round and round and round.
I mean, more to the point, are they going to have any players to play?
Is anyone left? Yeah.
They're still miles behind Toulouse or ahead of Toulouse, whatever way you want to look at it, in the Fair Play League.
But only for 3 points off relegation at the moment. So it's things like that's it's their 11th defeat of the season. Could have been their 5th draw. 26 points takes you a little bit away. It's these little marginal decisions that really could
against
decide.
A direct rival for relegation as well.
Well, I was going to say that was a massive win for Guingamp. Huge win.
It was their first. They lost 3 in a row, then they drew 2. Much needed win.
By the way, Duress was unbelievable in that match. He came on at half time, completely changed it, took the penalty, had an amazing shot that came off the bar, was the one that got Aite sent off, it was the one that was fouled for the Aite sending off. It was one of the more impressive substitute appearances that I've seen this season.
You ruined my link that I was going to do there, Jess. Thanks for that.
All right.
Another team who won an important game at the weekend. It's going to cut out that bit where you interrupted me. It's fine. No, was Rennes. And before we go, I suppose we have to let Rich talk about Rennes after they got the first win under Roland Corbis. Now I've got 2 questions. Someone's sent a question on Twitter, which we'll get to. First one, Rich, what did you think of Corbis' first team selection? Happy, indifferent? See how it goes?
I've got no particular issue. Pretty difficult to judge based on the first game, but from what I saw, very, very impressed with the front 3. Giovanni Co, perhaps in particular, who's come in for quite a bit of stick of late. Relationship between him and the fans, not fantastic. It worked incredibly hard on Friday night. Very, very impressed with his work rate. But perhaps what I was more impressed with was those front 3, Co, Ntep and Dembele, and just how fluid it was. It was, at one point you had Ntep on the left, Co in the middle, Dembele on the right. 5 minutes later, they'd swap. So really, really impressed with that. We hadn't really seen that before with Montagnier. So positives to take. Defence, I think, still needs to be worked on. Was certainly something that Corbis had highlighted during the days before the game. Pretty fortuitous goal, won it in the end.
Yes. It wasn't a great finish from Grzycki at first, but it was Filippini who got the...
Well, I think it was an even better finish from Philly. So, you can't complain. Home win. Seems an eternity since that. Or it was. It's been since September, I believe, was the last time Rennes had won at home against a incredibly informed team. Let's not forget that. It's, you sort of dismiss the fact that it was only against Gazvak. Well, many a team have fallen foul of that attitude. So, good start. Room for improvement, but we'll see where it goes.
No,
it still seems crazy. I know you were talking about how close the league is, but it seems crazy that a coach is sacked and one win later they're at least provisionally in the top 3.
And when you look at the form record, it's not like they've been struggling. That's their 3rd win in 6. So it's not like Montpellier down in 18th, who apparently are going to name Frederic Ontz as new coach, which probably talking more next week if he's in charge and if he takes charge of the next game. We'll talk about that one more. But yeah, it's a strange one, but a win's a win. Corby's got the win. Rich, the question you mentioned the front 3. Question from Sabir is like, who do you feel has the potential to be the better player of Ousmane Dembele and Paul George Ntep? Obviously, age gap difference there, but from the potential of both and where they are, who's your money on?
Dembele, I think, by quite a way.
Ooh.
I do think. Yes, there is an age difference, but what I've seen in not even a dozen games, I don't think so far, he's certainly the most exciting player to come out of the Rennes Academy for quite a significant number of years. Incredibly quick, incredibly skillful, good at finishing, provides assists, questionable attitude, everything to make it a great young French talent.
Are you talking about Ntep? Are you talking about Dembele? It's very
well, yeah, exactly. No, I do think Dembele. I think Ntep will become a really good player. He just needs to get over his injuries, because obviously they've been out for so much of this season with injuries to his lower leg and related to shin splints and all sorts of issues. So that's going to take time to heal. We always talk with injuries, both physically and mentally. That's going to have an impact. All of a sudden, he's come back into a team as well, where he's not the star man on his own. All of a sudden, he's come into a team where people are talking about Dembele, people are talking about Quintero, people are talking about, although he's not playing, Gourcuff. So I think Ntep will find it tough, I think, for the rest of the season, because I think so much will be focused on Dembele, who will go on to great things. I'm sure of it. And with the sort of clubs that were rumoured with him at the start of the season, your likes of you sort of Arsenal's, your Man Cities in particular, and a few German clubs as well. I'm very excited to see where he can go.
So I'm not sure it was just because I've seen more of Ntep. I'm still edging on his side slightly. There's that, I don't know, just a bit more explosive, that ability to shoot from distance, which just don't know where you are. If he cuts inside on his right and lets that go, 9 times out of 10 it was going in when he was in top form. Jez, what side of the line do you fall on? Are you going to sit on the fence?
I'm going to edge towards Rich and say Dembele as well.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Well, you just told me not to sit on the fence.
Yeah.
I've never been 100% convinced about Ntep, attitude-wise, and not questioning his ability, but partly the injury proneness, or whatever the word is. Also, kind of think. I'm not convinced that apart from the speed, there's that much football intelligence there. I think Dembele already at such a young age, I think he looks, as well as being able to dribble, he also looks so calm, often makes the right decision. I think he's potentially huge. I think Ntep maybe sort of fits the look of a footballer more, and Dembele sort of still looks quite lanky, but and maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know, but I think when he bulks up and if he can keep his head on his shoulders, I think he could really be a great footballer.
No, I can totally see that, and I think he's going to be amazing. We'll see which way it goes. Thanks, Sabir, for that. Now, luckily, we don't have time for me to rant about Lille. They're about to start playing in the Coupe de Ligue semi-final, so we probably won't even get time to talk about that next week. Lots of games this weekend. Got Marseille Lille on Friday. There is Angers Monaco on Saturday afternoon, which could be a good one. Then Bordeaux Rennes on Sunday, which will be interesting. And then we finish with Saint-Etienne PSG. Easy chance for Saint-Etienne to get another 3 points there. So that'll end our live podcast. No one sent us any questions. Cheers, guys. But if you listened live, thank you. If you listened via iTunes, thank you as well. And from me, Rich and Jez, until next week, it's goodbye for now.